Hello there and welcome back to the channel. Today we have an absolute banger to talk about. John Wick Chapter 4. The fourth movie obviously in the John Wick franchise, and if you've watched these movies you know they have a ton to offer. They are such good movies, not only action wise but the story they're trying to tell and the story that they tell throughout all four of these films have so much to offer as well, and that's really what gravitates me towards these movies. And John Wick Chapter 4 just steps that up. It elevates it even more on a level that we could never think of. The movie also has a 95% critic score and a 95% audience score. It is widely loved and for a very good reason. And obviously, the man that brought us the first three movies, Chad Stahelski, is directing this one again, and the summary goes as this. John Wick uncovers a path to defeating the High Table, but before he can earn his freedom, Wick must face off against a new enemy with powerful alliances all across the globe, and forces that turned old friends into foes. Now let's just go ahead and talk about the good of this movie, because there is a lot to talk about. So if you've watched the trailers or if you've watched the movie and you're watching this after getting out of your theater, you know the Marquis, played by Bill Skarsgård, is the big bad of this movie. And it's just mind-blowing to me how they keep finding ways to bring in these new villains and just up the stakes even more. But this one, it does it flawlessly. I couldn't find anything wrong with it. It didn't feel like, oh, we need a villain for our fourth movie, let's just grab this dude. It all just flowed and it worked story-wise so well. Bill Skarsgård plays this character so menacingly. You can tell that there's real danger. You can tell the stakes are upped even more from the first three movies. And when we get to that third act, it shows a lot. And that third act is probably one of my favorite parts of the entire franchise. It just goes and it doesn't stop. The action's there, the storytelling's there. The audience reactions, both nights I went Thursday and I went Sunday. Sunday, it wasn't even that packed of a theater, but the audience reactions were still just as good. And as for the whole friends and foes part, Donnie Yen, the man that plays Kane, and Shamir Anderson, who plays Tracker in this movie, they were just as good. They were just as good. They elevated the movie so much. And it's odd because there are some times where we cut away from John Wick to explore these supporting characters of Kane and Tracker, and not 1 second of it isn't interesting. Like, the movie's already 2 hours 50 minutes. I would not have minded seeing a 5-hour cut of this movie just to explore everything that we could have. And their relationship with Wick and everything that they go through throughout the movie, it's all just so much fun. There was not 1 second that I was bored or that I wasn't interested in the movie. Another thing I want to talk about is, while the action and the story is there, I mean, visually, this is probably one of the most beautiful movies I've seen in a long time. Just the way that everything's lit, the color grading, the cinematography. We change locations a lot in this movie. I think there's 3 main places that we go, but every single time we change a scene, every single time that we switch a location, it always has something to offer visually. There was just so much moments where I was sitting there in awe at how good all of this looked, how beautiful it looked. Like, I can't stress that enough. There's so much moments. I don't think there's one scene that we go to that looks dull. Everything has something to offer. There's also a fight scene in the third act, and if you've watched the movie, you know what I'm about to say. It's a bird's eye view of this building, and it looks like they're in a maze, and it's all one shot, and it is just some of the craziest action, some of the craziest camera work that I've seen in an action movie maybe ever. And there's just so much layers to this movie. Again, you can take it at face value and say it's a great action movie with a fun, interesting story. But if you look deeper, you look at how we're shooting this, you look at the story they're telling, the contrast between the Marquis and between John Wick, and between the people that are also along with him, like Kane and like Nobody, and the journey that they go on, and you can appreciate it so much more. And as for the bad and the ugly in this movie, there really is none of it. I don't have anything to say. I will say the first act, though, does kind of take a minute to kind of ramp up. It feels like maybe it's set up for something in the future, and if you've seen the post-credit scene, if you've seen for the end of the movie, then you know what I'm talking about, but I won't get into spoilers. But that's really about it. The first act takes a little bit, but again, there's still something to leech onto. There's still something to love in that first act. And just for like my close-up thoughts, the opening scene I think was probably the best opening scene we've gotten in this franchise. It was so fun seeing this in IMAX and feeling every gunshot, feeling every punch. It was just an amazing experience, especially being in a packed theater with a bunch of people that could appreciate this movie just as me. So that is it for John Wick Chapter 4. I'm sure we'll be covering this on the podcast Words from the Nerds podcast here on YouTube, on audio, wherever you get your podcasts at. And we'll have a ton more to talk about there. But I wanted to get this reaction out. I rewatched the movie last night, fell in love with it even more. My final grade is a 96 out of 100. Phenomenal movie. Falls at my number 1 on the year. I'll have my Letterboxd list right here. Number 1 favorite movie of the year. How can it not? How can it not? This movie is phenomenal. A great franchise that we have here. Interested to see what they do next. Again, won't get into spoilers, but it'll be fun to see where they take this universe. It'll be fun to see where they take all of these characters. Give me it. Give me it. I don't care what you do. I will be there seated in the theater or seated on my couch for any TV show or movie that you bring next. So without further ado, that's my review. John Wick Chapter 4. Did you watch it? Did you not watch it? Are you gonna watch it? Did you love it? Did you not like it? Let me know in the comments, all that fun stuff. And yeah, keep an eye out for the next video. Maybe a Tetris video coming out soon. Again, another great movie. 2023 has given us bangers, and I will be here to talk about it. So without further ado, that's my review. Thank you for watching. Peace.